I have so many thoughts swimming around in my little mind right now. I guess Mars in Gemini has definitely triggered the thought machine. Hi, everybody. Thomas Miller on Monday, August 22nd on the Fun Astrology podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. Since we talked last Thursday, if you didn't listen to the episode on Saturday, and if you haven't been on our Facebook group page, then you probably have not heard, but Majana Mason, who does the Life After Life podcast that she and I started that a couple of years ago, her 19-year-old son Brock was killed in a car accident on Thursday evening in Dallas. I'm not going to dwell on it here. We'll do a further unpacking of this when the time is right on subconscious mind mastery, but I will say this, that as soon as I learned of the accident the following evening on Friday, I cast charts. And the astrology around this was absolutely enormous. I'll tell you a couple of takeaways. Number one, I, in a whole different way now, respect these transiting planets that we talk about on this podcast. They are indeed very, very powerful. I also respect much more the Saturn return. Another applied astrology takeaway that I would have is get on Old Soul, New Soul if you're interested at all in astrology, and learn every single word that Robert Glasscock speaks. When I was doing those practicum classes, I was in there for the astrology. Some of them had politics mixed in, and I would just separate the politics and the astrology and try to stay with the learning of the astrology. And what I did is I set up a computerized notes program, and I set up the different categories, planets, houses, signs, and whenever he would say something, I would put what he said under the respective area. So I now have this searchable database of Robert Glasscock interpretive astrology. I have never seen anything like the way that he interprets a chart work as incredibly as it does. And I put his style to use here in looking at these charts, and I realized that there was a karmic tapestry, a karmic purpose that I cannot even begin to describe the majesty, the awesomeness, and the incomprehensibility of what's going on in this situation that I will never understand. Probably we humans would never understand. It is far greater than that, and astrology shows us exactly that picture. Maybe there will be a time and the right place to talk about the chart, but just to say that there is a lot going on that we don't know, and just to respect and honor that process and pray and love on Majana, because she is obviously incredibly torn up right now. Yesterday, we spent the day on our Facebook group. So many of you made donations. If you'd like to, you'd have to join our Facebook group if you're not on it. Subconscious Mind Mastery and Fun Astrology Podcast Listeners Group on Facebook. And we have a top of the page there as a way that you can physically express some love by helping offset the expenses that she is encountering now. So if you'd like to do that, that's right there at the top of that Facebook page. Thank you again for those of you who contributed already. Now, let's talk about Virgo season. So 11:16 this evening, here in the area of North Carolina, the sun enters Virgo. Walk that forward or backward, depending on where you're listening from. And we are going to, so you Leos have one more day, basically. One more day. Let's do Virgo season tomorrow. We have a light day, and I just want to hold the space of kind of where this podcast should probably be. Another aspect this evening, 5:58 p.m., Mercury trines retrograde Pluto. Now, I believe, if my memory is right, Thursday was a long time ago for me here, but I think we talked about that Pluto is also in a trine with Mars. Oh, yeah, we talked about it was in a distant. Well, Mars has moved in position now. So Mars is within striking distance now of a trine with both Pluto in Capricorn, Mercury in Virgo, and then at 1 degree now Gemini, Mars. And Mars is worth mentioning here too, and this is the big one. This is the really big one. So it entered Gemini over the weekend. Now, there were so many things in Majana's chart that to just pull one out is really, and you say, well, what about Brock's? That was the magic of this. If you knew their relationship, this would make sense. But this was like a little soul in the sun kind of thing, in my interpretation of looking at this, that the symbolisms were all in her chart. But I told you, I said I have a completely different respect now for these transiting planets, because when a planet ingresses, when it gets ready to move into a new sign, that planet amplifies in power. That accident happened a little over 24 hours before Mars left Taurus, where we know it's been a wrecking ball, and entered Gemini. And Mars will stay in Gemini from now, if you can believe this, all the way till late March of next year. Mars, the planet that normally takes a couple of months to go through a sign, well, it's almost like a perfect situation here. It moves almost all the way through Gemini. And then on my birthday, October 30th, it turns retrograde. And it starts going backwards for another couple of months. And then it almost gets all the way back to the beginning of the sign. And then it turns direct and has to go back through again. So it's almost like we get a triple transit of Mars through Gemini. I've got to say, if it continues its pattern that was set up in Taurus, well, we'll be talking about interpretations of communication, knowledge, learning, and lots of division. Gemini, a twin sign, a dual sign, the split. Look at the glyph. It's 2. 1 becomes 2. So you could see a lot of separations and divisions and split-ups of things if Mars continues that track. And I've already heard from some that maybe it is already doing that, as it's just an infant here today at 1 degree and a few minutes inside Gemini. All right, you guys, we'll be back. We've got time this week. We can unpack things. We do have Uranus turning retrograde on Wednesday. We talked about that on Saturday. That's a really big deal in the sky as well. All right? Sending you love. Thank you for the love back. You guys are amazing, and I just can't tell you how much I appreciate it. Have a great Monday.